and welcome to TotoTCG. You are here with me, Matthew, and we are back here with another Pokemon news update. So we have more Fairy Rise stuff to get on with and another new GX to discuss. This will be the third out of the 4 GXs which were revealed in this set. So, without further ado, let's get on with it and let's check out what this GX actually is. So the GX in question is Alolan Ninetales GX. We're getting a reprint of the Alolan Ninetales. It will be a fairy, or at least a fairy type, with a HP of 200. And of course it is a stage 1 Pokemon because it evolves from Alolan Vulpix. Now we've had several Alolan Vulpix. We had one in Forbidden Light, I believe. No, actually it was Ultra Prism. It was Ultra Prism. We've had a few others. We've had one with a pretty nice free attack, which we will get into when it gets to the What Works section. We'll also have a little discuss about, obviously, this thing did have, or still has at the moment, a water type of the Ninetales, so whether they might work together and how they might work together might be a good discussion to have. But a pretty interesting card. I like how it's been giving a fairy type. You know, we've had water, now we've got the fairy type, so that is pretty cool to see another one. So let's have a little look at the full art and rainbow rares. So the full art is right there, and I have to say I absolutely love it. I love the fact that it's got that blue outline on it. I love the fact that it's got that like white/grey gradient going through it, and the background is pink, which makes the whole thing stand out so well. It looks amazing. I really do like this a lot. And of course it does have the rainbow rare as well, with red eyes as well, which is always a nice little feature to have with the rainbow rares, but very, very cool indeed. I like how a majority of it is still white. There is a little hint of the different rainbow colours in there, but it's still mostly white, which I really, really like. It does look so, so cool. So nice indeed. So, without further ado, let's get into the attacks and the ability. We'll start with the ability. So the ability name is called Mysterious Guidance. Well, what does it do? Let's have a look. When you play this card from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon during your turn, you may search your deck for up to 2 item cards, reveal them and put them into your hand, then shuffle your deck. So that's pretty cool. You could be looking for item cards such as maybe a Choice Band. There are several others. Maybe, for example, you might want a Lele. Then you could possibly go for a Mysterious Treasure. That is an item card. So you could sort of get that sort of stuff out. But it is very much thinking, what 2 items do I need at this moment? You might want an Ultra Ball, a Nest Ball, something like that. It might be a very interesting thing to do. The fact that it's an ability and it's when you evolve this Pokemon is pretty cool, because if you do run maybe a 4-3 line or 4-4 line, you've got 3 or 4 chances of doing this and getting the item cards that you want. Now, of course, if you don't use them in the turn, the only thing at the moment that really is going to disrupt your hand is a Judge, with rotation literally happening right this weekend on Worlds. It is going to be very interesting to see how we can sort of disrupt decks at this moment. But item cards is going to be pretty cool. Nice ability. So moving on, we've also got another attack called Snowy Wind for 1 fairy and 1 colourless. Nice that the attacks are quite low down in the cost, which is always very, very nice, you know. But what does it do? So it does 70 damage, and this attack does 30 damage to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. So that is really good. To be honest, I kind of like it, because you are doing 70 damage. Now with a Choice Band you would be doing 100, literally 100, as long as it's a GX. But the fact that you're actually able to sort of damage the bench, so only 1 at a time, but it's a nice little bit of a 30 damage bonus, which is always very, very cool. So it might not be a solid attacker, but it's interesting. I definitely think it could be an interesting card to try and play, especially with items as well. It's going to be very interesting. Now, there's a lot of item, like fairy charms in this set for fighting, dragon, and I think it's psychic, But they're coming out in this set, so you can always put that on there. As long as you know what your opponent is playing, place that on there, and I think it stops all the attacks from GXs which have that typing. So that is pretty nice. So let's have a little look at the GX, which is called Sublimation GX for 1 fairy, 1 colourless. What does it do? If your opponent's active Pokemon is an Ultra Beast, it is knocked out. So, this is a very, very good counter to any Ultra Beast. Any at all. Buzzwole, Zergatree, Pheromosa, we've got Naganadel. We'll be having hopefully another one in Lost Thunder, which will be Blacephalon. I think I'm saying that right. That can be destroyed with this. Yes, it is a GX. Yes, you're only knocking out one thing. And what is kind of annoying is if you do this on an Ultra Beast, your opponent will be able to activate Beast Ring, which is really, really annoying because you've taken 2 prizes. Well, happy days. They're behind on prizes. They can Beast Ring onto the other Ultra Beasts that they possibly got on their deck. So a lot of things to definitely hinder Ultra Beasts and a lot to help them. But I like this GX. I think it is pretty cool. It does have that weakness of, you think, well, okay, I've just opened my opponent to a lot of Beast Rings. They have to look for those items. They find them, they use them, they get a very, very big boost in energy. But the fact that the moves themselves, you've got one for 70 and 30 on the bench, one that can knock out Ultra Beasts, and a pretty interesting ability which allows you to get items. So I don't know where I stand with this thing because I think it could be good, but not on its own. I think it could be a very interesting thing to do, but not at this moment. Like it's really odd to sort of think about this because all the different things do very different things. Like the GX does Ultra Beast. The attack itself, as much as the GX and the attack has the same cost, it's 70-30, which is good damage, but it's not going to get a really quick KO, which is kind of annoying. The ability gives you items. So I think having a 2-2 line of or maybe even 4-2, so you've got your Vulpix to do the beacon ability, for example. You might not even want to run that one, but you've got that to sort of carry on and get the beacon going. But you've got this one on standby, especially with that ability smacking it down. 2 energies going on there. You don't even really have... You could even put a counter energy on this thing to help out quite nicely, which could be interesting. Counter energy with this thing might be very nice because obviously if you're behind on prizes, you put counter energy on, it's literally any type of energy twice. Smack that on, happy days. As long as you're behind on prizes, it's all good, you can attack. So it could be interesting, but I don't think it could be a deck on its own. But I still like it. I still think it's a pretty cool card. But it's confusing. Anyway, let's finish it off. Of course, it is a GX, so when it does get knocked out, your opponent will get 2 prizes. It has weakness to metal, which is... I guess it's a little bit of a worry with a bit of Metagross and everything, but I don't know, not like a massive, big concern. It's got a resistance to dark, which I get Zoroark, yes, so that's pretty nice. That's definitely a nice little bonus, so always good. And a retreat of 2. I mean, it's got 2 for its attack. It can have 2 retreat. Definitely, that's pretty cool. Definitely very, very nice. So let's have a little look at what works. Now, we got quite a few things here to sort of help this thing if we wanted to sort of get it going, and other things that it could work nicely with. First things first is Gardevoir GX, of course. Gardevoir is very, very interesting indeed. It's seen play on its own. It's seen play in a deck as sort of like a tech thing. But the Secret Spring, obviously once during your turn, you may attach another Fairy Energy card from your hand. And it's to anything, doesn't have to be to this. Infinite Force is a very good attack. And Twilight allows you to shuffle 10 cards back from your discard pile. So that's always very, very interesting. Now, I brought this up. We got Ribombee here. Now, this is from the Sun and Moon set. Now, it's the ability that I'm interested in here. Once during your turn, you may search your deck for 2 basic energy cards, reveal them, and put them into your hand. Then shuffle your deck. Now, bearing in mind, you have Ribombee on the bench. You do not want to have that as your attacker. It is on your bench. But the fact that you can find fairy energies with this thing is pretty nice. I definitely think it could be a nice little bonus. Especially with Alolan Ninetales only needing 2 energies, one of which fairy, one of which colourless. You might have already been able to power up with 1 energy, so this thing's giving you 2 more. Happy days, all good. Another thing I've put in here is Xerneas GX. Might not be the biggest and baddest GX, but it's a GX nevertheless. It's a fairy type, it's a basic, and it's got some interesting attacks. Interesting, definitely a big word there. So, moving on from that, we've got another Rabombi. Now, this one was from, I think... Oh, sorry, hold on. The one we looked up before was actually from Burning Shadows. This one is from Sun and Moon. So this one has another ability. Once during your turn, you may heal 20 damage from one of your Pokemon. So I'm only putting it there because it's a nice little bit of healing to take a bit of... I'm not saying the Ninetales is weak, but it's got 200. And if your opponent's going to try and chip that away with maybe a 2-shot, you can possibly try and stop that with some Rabombis on the bench to sort of give you those added bonuses, which is pretty nice. I've also put in here Diantha. Now this could be a nice one as well. You can play this card only if one of your fairy Pokemon was knocked out during your opponent's last turn. So if, for example, they knock out that GX, this then says put 2 cards from your discard pile into your hand. Now you could get the exact same Ninetales back out and maybe a supporter, or maybe a tool, or maybe an energy. It's completely up to you, but there is that to use. So it could be an interesting one, but you have to have had your Pokemon knocked out last turn, and it has to be a fairy one. So there is that. I've also got Shiinotic here, which was an Ultra Prism card with Illumate, the ability. This is what I've grabbed the fairy types which have abilities, just because they could possibly help. But once during your turn, you may search your deck for a fairy Pokemon, reveal it, and put it into your hand, then shuffle your deck. So having this thing on your bench definitely helps speed up the fact that you might want to try and get your Vulpix evolved into the Ninetales to use the ability. This thing can help. So definitely a nice little thing to think of. I mean, obviously, the Rabombis, the Shiinotics, they don't have to be a 4-4 line, a 3-3 line. They could just be a 2-2. The reason I say 2-2 and not 1-1 is because what happens if one part of it is prized? The whole thing is completely shut down. And the annoying thing is that your opponent can just bring it up one shot at happy days, and you haven't been able to do anything with it. Plus, it takes up bench space. So there is that. Lastly, out of all these bits and bobs, we've got Comfy. This was from Guardians Rising, with the ability of Flower Shield. Each of your Pokemon that has a fairy energy attached to it can't be affected by any special conditions. So you can remove all special conditions. So poison, paralyzation, burn, everything like that. Comfy can help. And plus, Comfy is a basic as well. So even just one of them can help very nicely. I'm not saying every deck runs on special conditions, and a lot of people can get out of special conditions quite easily with Retreat or Guzma, such like that. But it's a nice little thing to have, a nice little tech. Just one of them, you know, you don't have to play it all the time, but just one, just to, you know, try and get this thing working, which could be very, very interesting. Now, 2 other cards to have a little talk about, one of which, of course, is going to be Alolan Vulpix with the Beacon ability. Now, this thing had a reprint, and it was a promo. It looks... I don't know, I'm kind of biased in saying that the promo version of this, or at least the A, I think it was 21A, it looks a lot better. But it still has that Beacon free attack. Search your deck for up to 2 Pokemon, reveal them, and put them into your hand, then shuffle your deck. Yes, it's an attack, but you're finding any Pokemon. It's not just basics, you're finding any Pokemon. So you can set it for next turn. You could possibly be finding your Shiinotics, Comfys, your Alolan Ninetales, for example. So that can be pretty cool. Yes, it is a water type, but I'll have you know, guys, there is a water type Vulpix coming out in this set. We're not getting a fairy Vulpix, it's going to be a water type. So you're not really gaining or losing anything. You're getting a really good card here. So definitely one to think about. And of course, I did want to touch upon this, is the other Alolan Ninetales GX. Of course, this one, it's a very, very interesting one. We'll go through it quickly. Double colourless for Ice Blade. This attack does 50 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon. That's pretty cool for a DCE. You know, you're just targeting anything you want. Blizzard Edge for 160. You discard 2 energies from this Pokemon. That is a little bit annoying. Of course, a lot of people would just play Aqua Patch and smack them back on. Happy days. Ice Path GX for another double colour. Move all damage counters from this Pokemon to your opponent's active Pokemon. So I don't know whether people might be like, well, okay, I'll run 4 Vulpix, but maybe do a split of 2-2, or maybe 3-1. I don't know what people are going to think. The fact that this thing can do some interesting attacks for just a double colourless is quite nice. You don't obviously have to run this just for the water energy attack. You don't have to run that. You can if you want. but you've got to think that you probably have to get some tech or some other energy. Rather than water, you need fairy to activate the other Alolan Ninetales, which we discussed in this video. But I did just want to bring that up, just about what could happen. I think it could work. I just don't know how successful it would be. They're both the same Pokemon. They both evolve from Vulpix. They're just different typings, but the attacks themselves could work nicely. Bit of damage, especially I like the fact now that both of these have got targeting damage, so you can attack the active and the bench, and then the water one can attack anything for 50, which for a DC isn't that bad, to be honest. So there we go. Let's finish this off, of course, Guess the GX, the answer from yesterday's video. So I gave you that picture right there. What was that? Well, of course, it was Lucario GX, the full art, which came out on Forbidden Light. Oh, careful. Forbidden Light. It was a promo in its own box, but a very good card. Doesn't see a lot of play anymore, which is really odd, but hey-ho. And then let's have a look at the Guess the GX for this video. So we have that picture there, that one there, and that one there. Let me know your thoughts on what this Pokemon is, or what the GX is in particular. Let me know your thoughts as well on this Alolan Ninetales. Do you think it could work? Do you think it's just a little bit of a tech? Or is there a deck that I'm stupidly missing that this thing could run in perfectly? Let me know in the comments below. If you are new to the channel and finding me for the first time, definitely hit that subscribe button below. We've got plenty of news updates still to come. We've got Explosive Impact to check out. Fairy Rise is still going strong. And then, of course, we'll have Dragon Majesty making its appearance on the channel very, very soon. So definitely going to be very, very interesting. But apart from that, I'm going to leave it here for this video. And I will see you guys in the next video on the channel.